its 7th season, the Lapped Traffic Podcast has brought you over 300 shows, driver and media interviews, awesome stories and entertainment, and one of the coolest fantasy leagues around. Get ready for another exciting season. Sit back, relax, and try not to get lapped. Now, here's your host, the Professor,
Oh, yes, Lap Traffic Nation. Welcome to episode 304 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. As he said, I am your host, the Professor, Brandon Crowd. Oh, who just doesn't love a doubleheader? I mean, it's perfect. I mean, there's no football. Baseball ain't on yet. Like, yes, give me 8 hours of nonstop racing on a Sunday afternoon. Yes, please. 2 race weekends in the books. No repeat winners. How long will we be able to say that? Time will tell. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. It was crazy around here, as it tends to be, apparently, with a 1-year-old. Friday after work, ended up taking Alden to a pediatric after-hours clinic, and turns out he's got a croup virus that we are working on clearing out. Things looking good, though, so far, which is awesome. Then got back to the house Friday night in time to do the first Twitter Spaces with Aaron Studwell, which I'll get into here in a few minutes. But that was a lot of fun. Saturday, Sunday, just chilled at the house, which is more than fine with me because, as you guys have, if you've been listening a minute and you hear how busy we are, between having a wife, a 1-year-old, a real job, and a podcast, I burned the candle at both ends. So it was nice to just chill. Sunday, smoked some ribs, which were amazing. And now we're on the repeat button of work week and podcasting. So here we are. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's show with Brandon Jones. A lot of fun to have him back on the show. And as I mentioned a minute ago, Friday night, Twitter Spaces, Studwell and I for 30 minutes hung out. Anywhere's between 10 to 20 some people hopped in and chatted. We only had one troll, which was, I guess, a good thing there. And even that was kind of humorous. But anyways, had a great time chatting, did some weather, talked some nonsense, talked some NASCAR, and had a great time. So I think that worked well for it being the first time doing that. And we will figure out a day to have Newdorf on this week. So stay tuned there. And there is still time to sign up for Lap Traffic Fantasy if anybody wants to get in the mix. Still getting some late registrations and still plenty of time to make the playoffs this year, especially with the expanded first round there. So there's all that for you. What's coming up tonight, though? Well, I'm pretty excited because Derrike Cope is going to come on and we're going to hang out. We're going to talk some stories. We're going to talk about his book, his podcast, and see what Derrike's got going on now that he's, not really too involved from a week in, week out perspective with Starcom and all of that. So we're going to talk to Derrike. We're going to have our Daytona ARCA winner back on the show, Greg Van Alst. He's going to be on, as well as ARCA driver and team co-owner from Empire, Sean Corr is going to be on. And then we're going to get into the mix with our listener that was at Auto Club. We've got fantasy, all that good stuff. So it's going to be a jam-packed, and if you haven't figured it out by now, probably a little longer show than what we've done so far. As I said for the last 3 weeks, I'm not going to be doing longer shows, but when it just works out, it works out. So without further ado, let's kick things off with Derrike Cope. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his first appearance on the show. He won the Daytona 500 in 1990 and is the author of Changing Gears, My Story of Drive, Passion, and Perseverance, and a Life Fulfilled. Welcome to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Derrike Cope. Derrike, what's up, man? How are you?
Well, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm excited. Things are going well for us, though.
Excellent. That's great to hear, man. I mean, the Cope name's synonymous with NASCAR, which is awesome. It's an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. We're going to talk some current NASCAR. We're going to talk about your new book. We're going to talk about your new podcast. We got a lot of things to dive into. Let's start, this past weekend, the last race at the 2 mile Auto Club Speedway. What'd you think of this weekend, and what do you think about, shaking things up at Auto Club going forward?
I thought it was kind of the typical race at Auto Club Speedway. Everybody was fanning out, searching for lines and trying to go where nobody else would go. And that is kind of what synonymous with that type of racetrack. And I've always enjoyed the California Speedway. I was there for the infancy of it, the first race in '97. And I've always just had some fun there with our Xfinity teams as well as our Cup efforts as well. But, it's sad to see it go. I was there when Ontario was there.
Oh, wow.
And in 1979, I carried tires for Bill Schmidt at Ontario Motor Speedway when Dale Earnhardt won Rookie of the Year and Benny Parsons ended up winning the race. And then, to go back and be there for the first race there for Auto Club, I love that area. I'm from San Diego, not far from there originally, and enjoy that race. And it was, I thought it was a great race, especially at the end. And it was like a typical California Speedway race.
No, man, that's awesome. And I literally got goosebumps hearing you mention, Earnhardt and Parsons. Like, those aren't names that are coming up, on my podcast very often. I know there's podcasts out there that focus on, more of the history side of things with NASCAR, but man, I hope this isn't the last visit you have on this show, because I bet the stories you could tell would be amazing. And I just probably have to ask one question, and you could probably go on for about 20 minutes, and the fans would just be there, jaw dropped in awe, just hearing some awesome stories.
We have a few, I can guarantee you.
I bet. And then the 500 kicked things off the 2023 season, 2 weeks ago. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., some calling it an underdog, some not calling it an underdog. Obviously, Ricky's got the experience to go out there and win, quote unquote, plate races, as we've seen him do in the past. But that was a very interesting race there, especially towards the end. And I'd love your thoughts, since you've got a ring as well. So how awesome is that?
Well, the race itself started off, like it typically does. Everybody just kind of riding around, and they started getting, obviously a little more frisky around the ends of the stages. But I really thought it was a good race for the most part. I think the new next gen car it's been conducive for better racing, and I think the guys have to really manipulate the race cars and really work hard in the draft with those cars. Because of the way that they're built, the cars are really they're pretty symmetrical, and they don't have all the side force. So it really is interesting that what they have to do is like the old days. You really got to work hard in the draft. And my cousin Ernie, ironically, is the team principal and manager for JTG Doherty. And so I was excited for them to see him them to get the Daytona 500 win. Ricky, I think, is a great young man. Obviously, his prowess on the super speedways has been evident in the past, and they had a great race car. I think they've worked really hard, and they're one of those teams that you might want to call them an underdog, but they're just a smaller team. But they do a lot with a little. I mean, they have their own war room there with like 8 to 10 people calling the race with the telemetry. They have basically some CFD modeling. They have wind tunnel testing. I mean, they have a smaller, I think, scale involvement with Chevrolet, as far as that goes. But they work really hard, and they're the little engine that could. And I think Tag Schechter and Jody and Brad are just superb people. And I am so tickled that they have a Daytona 500.
That's awesome, man. We're seeing that a lot more, I think, with some of these smaller teams really start to show some character and some poise, and to let them know, to let the rest of the garage know, hey, we can go out there and we can do some damage. We saw it, with Trackhouse in the Cup Series last year. We've seen it with Kolby Racing in the Xfinity Series, now branching out into the Cup Series. And I think it's awesome to see what some of these teams are being able to accomplish. And I think the new car also is helping with that. Yes,
I think so. And I think you really have to give Trackhouse, I think, a lot of credit. They have continued their continued success on into this year already, and they're a force to be reckoned with. And it's incredible to see what they are doing with against the bigger teams. But I think again, the car is created some parity, but still, it does, the cream rises to the top. And the teams that have the biggest amount of funding, the more engineering capabilities and the resources, they're going to stack more pennies together.
Sure.
And they're going to make the difference. But it still is interesting to watch when the smaller teams can be proficient and give them a go.
Absolutely. All right, Derrike, let's talk about the book a minute. What sparked you to sit down and come up with something, and what can fans expect with it?
Well, I've always felt like that. Not a lot of people know really where I come from or what I've done. I've kind of always held things close to the vest, and I never really tried to talk about really what it took for me to get here. People assume things. They assume you have money, you found money, or you brought money. And I come from pretty humble beginnings, and with a drag racing background, and built engines myself, and really worked hard both in and out of the race car to be proficient enough to speak well and try to represent sponsors, so I could get money to race, because it wasn't going to happen without that. So I really just I think it was instilled in me early by my father and my mother that, the work ethic had to be there, and you don't get outworked. And that's really, how it started. I mean, I was grinding camshafts at 14 in the engine building facility we had. And I worked hard to get here and to become a stable fixture in the sport. And fortunately enough, I could represent a product, and I spoke well enough and became an extension of the companies. And one man, Carol Warner and Sue Warner, who was the then president of Pure gave me a chance, and the rest is history.
That's crazy. And to see that spark throughout the rest of the family too, like you mentioned, Ernie, Angela's actually been on the show a couple years ago. I mean, it's just become part of the bloodline now, hasn't it?
It has. And I think for me, the book, Changing Gears, you always, life doesn't always go as you plan it. And it didn't for me as well. I mean, I wanted to play baseball, and that didn't happen. I was hurt. And then I started racing, and, you go through racing, and you have maybe, it takes a while to get there. And then all of a sudden, you're there and you're a stable fixture, things are going good. And then you kind of crest the hill, and maybe things don't go as well. And, you don't always stay there as long as you wanted to, or you're not in the best rides that you wanted to, but you have to reinvent yourself. You have to persevere. You have to change gears. You got to fight, scratch, and claw, and sometimes do things that you don't really want to do, but you have to be seen, out of sight, out of mind. And so I've always done things that I could do to put myself in a position to do what I love to do. And I think that's what I've stressed in this book is, you really have to live your best life. You gotta like be willing to get outside the box, do what it takes to find passion in what you do, and love to get up in the morning and go to work. And I've just been one of those fortunate few that have been able to do that pretty much my entire life. So I just try to talk about those things, give insight into what and how I got there, and how possibly some of the things that I say might help the kids out there, or, mentors that are mentoring people, or people that will own race teams, and give them opportunity to listen to what I have to say and maybe interact with us as well and ask questions, and hopefully they can find something that'll be helpful.
I think that's, talking about how you can give that insight to people, I think is huge, because, if you're not in Charlotte, people probably think like, oh man, I don't have a shot, I could maybe do some local stuff or whatever. But I would imagine your book would definitely, give some positive, feedback to people in terms of their ability to, keep them motivated, which is awesome.
Well, I came 3,000 miles from Grand National racing at the time, which was then Winston Cup racing and now NASCAR. But I wanted to do it. I won the late model sportsman championship in '83. I went to Daytona, fell in love, and really felt like I needed to do this. And, I made a a conscious decision to make it happen. And I was in, Tacoma, Washington, Spanaway, Washington. And I was the first one from the West Coast to really come back here, become a stable fixture and have some modest success. And a lot of my friends and people I worked with followed me, and they've all made, career changes. And now they have great opportunities here in NASCAR, and we've made great lives together. And I think that I just wanted to, put that out there for other people that, you don't have to be from the East Coast. You don't have to be from this vicinity, that it just takes desire and it takes heart and the willingness to put yourself, down a path and not be deterred. And that's what I really try to convey in Changing Gears.
That's awesome. And I see it's being released. Is it via chapter or via portion, so to speak?
Yes, we started with the first chapter, and that was really kind of a cross section of, maybe all the things that it encompasses. And then as we go along, then, we will start to dive more in depth into each, area, every facet that we've touched on. And then that way people can, obviously kind of, if something resonates with them, they can get back to us and we can answer questions and give insight and try to be helpful. But that's how we'll kind of, progress as we go with the actual ebook. That's
awesome. That's a cool way to do that. And you're going to let the fans and people that have such a thirst for knowledge in the sport kind of help shape how the book kind of just takes its own life form, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, the thing that is, I think that people don't really always understand is this sport has changed drastically, since I started in the 80s, and it continues to evolve. And sometimes, now with social media and all the things that encompasses, there's a lot more to it. And there's a lot more things that I think maybe are detrimental, that, or they're more pitfalls. And I think it's important that they understand that some of the things that worked before don't work now. And then some of the things still do. And I think that you just have to have a sense of looking at what do you have at your disposal? What do you have the means to do? And I try to give ideas and thoughts and processes on, hey, start here. This is how you look at it. This is how you approach it. And then depending on what you have available to you, you have to just start the process and believe in the process. So, it's just my view and what's helped me get here. And I'm just going to share those things. And, some things you have to take with a grain of salt and discard, and some things you can implement.
No, that's great, man. You mentioned, you've been around this sport for a very long time. The evolution of this sport has taken many different life forms, from the cars on the track to, straight up just awarding a championship via points, to the implementation of a playoff system, to stage points and playoff points and all of that. What are some of the things that, you wish you raced under those certain circumstances? Or what are the things that you're glad, man, I'm glad I'm not racing because of that, because you have been around this sport for such a long time?
I've always been a traditionalist. I came into the sport, with, all of these great drivers, all the people that I thought were fantastic race car drivers. I got to know them, raced against them. And the traditional things, the way you raced, 500-mile races, they were, there was very few 400-mile races. It was, you had to step up and drive hard, and they didn't have all the safety things and all the stuff. And I look at it now, right, and it's very different. And what these guys have to go through to get into NASCAR, what you got to do just to get a license this day and age, the social media, I think the scope, those things there, you're under a microscope now, and everything you do, everybody has a voice and everybody has a soapbox to stand on. And the ridicule that drivers take for making mistakes, for not just thinking that they were in the way or whatever. And then the other drivers, maybe, criticizing, that creates a lot of animosity and things. And those are the things that I have a distaste for.
Sure.
Is that the drivers themselves are mouthy. They criticize and they talk about lap traffic and they do all these things when, in fact, if they didn't have that, they wouldn't have the opportunity to race. So I think it's a double-edged sword, and that's the part I have a distaste for. And as far as I'm concerned, they need to be, I think, better ambassadors of the sport. And those are the one things that I I just have a platform now to say it.
Absolutely.
And, I think certainly that's the biggest problem I have. And the young kids today, I think there's a lack of respect. And I think that, there's a lot of these kids these days, it's all arrive and drive. It's being funded. And I really believe that the mentality has to change. This is a true gift to be in NASCAR, to be in motor racing and making a living. And you better take a good hard look at it because it's fleeting as well.
Man, Derrike, I love everything that you just said, man, because it resonated and I love it. And I think that people that listen to the Lap Traffic podcast, which by the way, I may have to use that because you dropped Lap Traffic. I may have to use that as an audio cut, just so you know, because that was perfectly placed. But, people that listen to my show are going to love everything that you just said. So you couldn't have said it better myself. So I love it. And speaking of podcasting and platforms and all of that, you and your wife have a new podcast, Driving Under Pressure, 26 shows under your belt. You guys are talking about everything from your career, the stories that I can't wait to hear. How has that been, getting into the podcasting side of things?
Well, it was uncharted territory. As I said in the beginning, I've never really wanted to, bare my soul and let people know really about, the struggles you went through and the reasoning behind what you do. And my wife, she's like, I want people to know your story. And she says she wants, our kids to know what I've done and our stories, people that are out there that maybe were, fans when I was racing, and they want to know the hardships and the reasons why we did things and decisions that were made and, the good, the bad, and the ugly about, I never really got a big time ride and I made do with what I had. And when I had to do start and parking, I didn't want to, but I had to make a living. And, Ray Abraham told me out of sight, out of mind. And so I made a choice to do what I had to do to, stay in the public eye. And so you talk about all these things. And so I felt like that the podcast was a platform that we could get on together collectively, my wife and I, who, by the way, we started StarCom with not a Bolt one and, pretty much took it for a 5-year run and then sold the charter and the team to Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin. So it came full circle. So we together, the two of us pretty much handled every aspect of the racing team. So we can talk pretty, I think, intelligently about all the facets of business, marketing, hospitality, racing, nuts and bolts. I've owned shock absorber companies. We can, I think, pretty much bring light to every facet of motorsports. And the same thing we talked about, the detrimental side when it comes to social media, being ridiculed by drivers or things. So I just wanted to be able to shed light on things that I had a distaste for and the things that I really, truly had passion for. And my wife, she can get off on a tangent and she tell it like it is. And she, if you don't like people, she's going to tell you. So, it does bring a bit of a colorful side at times.
Sure.
And, but we started just doing storytelling and then we've started to evolve more into more of the, the inner workings and the nuts and bolts. And then we have a lot more. We're going to start bringing some guests on later. And I think, it'll evolve into more like what you're doing, I think, at some point.
It's crazy how you'll have this idea of what you want it to be and what you think it should be. And then it just kind of, goes on its own, which that I think you'll have fun watching it evolve. And especially with who you'll probably be able to get on the show and the the reach that you'll have. I think you'll have a great time with that. And I bet your wife, I bet she's got some crazy stories to be able to share from, being in the, in the motorhome during race weekend and, being on pins and needles, watching you guys race out there. That's a whole nother side of the sport that I think people don't realize is the wives, the girlfriends, significant others, the kids and the strain that it puts on them being at the racetrack or not having you home. I can only imagine, the insight that she's going to be able to provide as well.
Well, it's an interesting thing, I think, for her because, again, it's something that, not a lot of people, know or, understand like, being in the trenches, what being in the trenches really is like. And, I mean, she's right there. I mean, she was doing cooking and hospitality and, taking care of people and credentials and just every aspect, marketing. I mean, she was off at, GNCs and places, sampling and doing all the things that would encompass, the actual sponsorships of the racing program, right? So she has a lot of stories and insight into that. She also knows, the good and the bad and the ugly about me. I mean, she calls me Mr. Cranky Pants. Well, okay, I get it, right? Well, I can get irritable. I can go from 0 to 100 in, pretty short order. But then she likes to engage in that. I mean, she comes from a different background as well, and she loves racing to the fullest degree of the word. And I think her passion certainly comes through on the podcast. So we'll have to just see how it goes. We're obviously in the infancy of it. We're just getting started. But like you said, I think there's a lot of things that will evolve based on just, it taking you there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let it drive you. I know you're a driver and you want to be in control, but let the podcast drive you. Oh, man. Well, listen, Derrike, we're going to Vegas this weekend, Sin City. What did you think of Vegas back in the day?
Well, obviously I was there for the first race as well. And I was actually at Craig Road Speedway back in the day when it was there. So, I've been going to Vegas for a very long time for the races. And, I thought the facility when it first got, ready to run was pretty dynamic. And, what a venue, right? So it really did, I think, create a lot of opportunity. My father and, our families used to come to those races all the time because it's very conducive for travel to there. And, it's a great place to showcase brands and national sales meetings and all the things that companies want to use in conjunction with the event. So I thought the whole dynamic was very exciting to have happen. And it's pretty much, gone that way. And the racing's always been good there because the racetrack is got such diverse corners. And you could run pretty much wide open in one, and then the other one, it had banking, and it ended up getting rough and a lot of bumps, had a lot of character. And then you could run the top as well and find a way where, you would just, again, go someplace where they're not at. And that's the type of racing that I like to see. And that racetrack's always been very conducive to that type of style of racing.
Fantastic. Derrike, since, you guys sold the Starcom charter, are you getting to the races very much? Are you just kind of laying low, writing, podcasting, and watching on the TV?
Well, I've actually been doing some consulting for some groups that are maybe looking at doing an open car in the Cup Series. So I've had a lot of dialogue with groups, and we've been talking about those things there. I have not really gone back to the Cup Series, to the racetrack as of yet. I have been working with Nitro Motorsports, which my cousin owns, which is a Trans Am TA2 team. And they do a lot of driver development for Toyota. A lot of all their young drivers, they do a lot of testing for them with this new GR86. And we also have the TA2 program. So we're taking these young Toyota drivers, doing test sessions, and we're doing driver coaching. We're working with data and, trying to look at video and go over and try to do assessments and do just a lot of things to try to make, them more proficient on road racing so that they can go showcase their potential on the ovals. So guys like Corey Heim, Taylor Gray, Chandler Smith, guys like that, and then we got Tony Breidinger, who's going to be involved with us doing some things. We've got, Darren Mock, the old Ray Mock with Butch Mock, his son's with us. So that's what I'm doing right now for most of the time. And, that's what we've been enjoying and just kind of gotten away from, the NASCAR side, for a bit. And not to say that we won't be back and do some things there, but we watch the races and we critique things, and that's when we can kind of bring in some of that. And, I did put together a NASCAR next gen car at our shop at Starcom prior to leaving and ending it all. So I have a good feel for putting that car together, and the shock absorbers, which I love that aspect about it. So I still have, some intrigue into it.
That's awesome. I love that. All right, Derrike, man, this was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show. Tell everybody again the book, where they can find it, and where they can listen and find your podcast as well.
The podcast is Race Theory, and you can find it on all the places you find podcasts. iHeart Radio. We've got it on Speed. I think it's Speed Perks. I think it is. But pretty much anywhere you find race, you'll find it, there. And again, we do have a website. It is called, it's the Race Theory website. You can reach it by going to DerrikeCope.club or racetheory.club. And we've got a lot of things on there talking about coaching and public speaking engagements, opportunities for some things later on. We got merchandise on there. All of our podcasts are on there, so they can be accessed there. And so those are the things that we have going right now, and we're just trying to get people access to what we got going, and then hopefully later on we can do some other things with maybe some ride-along programs. We plan on trying to bring that along at some racetracks where we can actually have some interaction with our fans and our people that are involved with race theory and want to come to the racetrack. So a lot going on.
I love that. Well, Derrike, man, thank you so much for taking some time to come on the show. Appreciate you. Best of luck with the book, the podcast, and hopefully talk to you very soon.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having us on, and continued success with yours.
Thank you very much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Wow, Lap Traffic Nation, how cool was that? Derrike Cope, great to talk to him, and definitely looking forward to getting him back on. All right, let's see here. Just some brief recaps and a couple things I want to highlight from this weekend, because I've got some of your guys' interaction that I want to get into, and got a lot more people to talk to. So I just want to start off with first talking about John Hunter Nemechek in his first win of the year in the Xfinity Series. I'm probably going to regret not setting a limit on him for Lap Traffic Fantasy. Not surprised, stepped into the 20 and come out with a staple win, race 2 of the Xfinity Series season. I wonder if Coach went up to him before the race and was like, dude, I need a win, after Kyle picked up the win earlier in the day. Tough break for Cole Custer, getting shuffled back after winning both stages, finished 27th. I bring up Cole because over half of the Lap Traffic Fantasy League took him. So I know a lot of you are very grateful for those 20 bonus points that he picked up with his stage wins. That helped salvage the weekend for a lot of you. So there's that. And then I just want to comment on Kyle Busch picking up the win. Just an incredible performance. Almost won at Daytona, which still eludes him. We're almost talking about a repeat winner 2 weeks into the season here with Kyle Busch. But to come back this week, get the win, second race with RCR, I think is incredible. He was tied with Kevin Harvick with 60 wins. He's now by himself, 9th on the all-time win list with 61. Chasen Sr. with 76. Can he get 15 more for the tie, or even 16 to surpass? I think it's possible, because Kyle Busch is either going to win 5 to 8 races a season or one race. And something tells me he's got a new spark for that 8 car, that 8 team. I think Kyle eclipses Senior. But hey, only time will tell. It's just a hunch, just a feeling that I've got there. So with that said, I posed to you guys on Sunday afternoon, are you surprised the 8 won so soon? And are you sad to see the 2-mile track of Auto Club go? So let's see what you guys had to say. Scott at 1985 Wagner, second race was quick, end of my range. I thought around 5 races with 8 races at the most. I agree with other replies on getting to repave point. I'm surprised they mentioned running on the seams. I felt with the much wider contact patch would pretty much eliminate it. Brian at Storm B81. No, I'm not surprised. And yes, I'm sad, but I guess it all depends on how the new track is, right? If that new track can race, like Martinsville, like the Coliseum, I think we're going to be in for a treat. Andrew at Racing Cants. Yes and no. KB is a hell of a driver, surrounded by a team who ended 2022 strong. Still thought there would be some adjustment. Definitely sad, but makes sense long term. that track would race worse than Texas if repave as is. Okay, maybe that's exaggerating, but it would be bad. I love that. I love the sense of humor there. Carolina at Eagles Nest of 3. KB seems to be a totally different driver. He seems happier, more confident. I believe this team will be a strong contender for the championship. Colin at Colin _with_cars. That's simple. Yes and yes. I figure Kyle would win one this year. Didn't expect him so soon. I also don't think you can watch a great race like today and be okay with a reconfiguration. Dave at Real David Kahn, not surprised at all. Team was great here last season with a great driver. Not a shock with Michigan only having one race and Texas sucking. I'm a little sad to see it go. Normally good racing, especially on the restarts. EJ at The Real EJ Gold, kind of surprised. I was hoping they'd all try to go to the distance and the 8 would lose a right rear late, but oh well. I tuned in with 50 to go. Seemed like about 6 racy grooves. That's good, right? Yeah, I think so. Eric at Eric from MI24. No with the Spider-Man gif. I love it. JD at JD _ Cunningham. Yes, but maybe I shouldn't have been. This is KFB after all. And number 2, I'm all for more short tracks, but I don't see why we have to sacrifice racing like this to get it. We can and should have both. Agree with you there, 100%. Jess at Iowa NASCAR fan. No, for the 8 guy can wheel it, and the car was stout last year. And maybe for the track configuration, the 2 mile put on a great race now, but it didn't when it was first paved. A repave is needed, and it would take years to get back to where it is now. Just like someone else said, and it's going to kind of get to my point about that is, look where we're at with Michigan and how long ago that was repaved, and it's still not perfect. Last year was the best race I've seen at Michigan in a long time, and so there's that. I'll touch on that again here in a second. Matt at CH9SE fan, not really. The A team left off strong. Kyle knows how to win and everything. Plus, I feel like he had something to prove. As for the track, yes and no. Yes, great track, but it needs a repave at some point regardless, and that will ruin how great it is for years anyways. And Mick at GoDucks5 _ Mick. 1, no, Randall Burnett built fast cars all season. Last year, thought they would be a deadly combination. The repave was going to happen, and it would be a larger version of Texas. Build a short track. And last but not least, Patty at PJ Coy. No and yes, great racing. All right, my takeaway is, pretty much like some of you, I thought it was going to be maybe 5, 6, 7 races before we maybe saw KB in victory lane, but no surprise that it was race 2. And like I said, we were really close to seeing him have back-to-back wins if things went a little different at Daytona. So no surprise there. And, that 8 car was tight and strong all year last year, was in victory lane. So, I mean, all of that just kind of comes full circle and shouldn't have any doubts as to why that 8 car was in victory lane race 2 of the year and second race for him in that car. As far as the track, it is unfortunate. I think Michigan now is going to be kind of that standalone. That's not a super speedway, big track, which is pretty cool. And I agree with a lot of you that, the repave would kill that track, and then we're waiting 10, 15 plus years, and was, for a long time it was called Michigan's sister track. And like I said, now Michigan gets to stand alone as that kind of style of race, which is awesome. And like I said, we've seen how long it's take Michigan to kind of get its own character after its repave. So that's where I'm at. Thank you everyone for chiming in with your responses and all that good stuff. We'll keep that going. Love the interaction and all that. So let's see. What should we do now? Let's see. Let's talk to our ARCA Daytona winner, Greg Van Alst. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his second appearance on the show. He is driver, owner of the number 35 CB Fabricating Chevrolet, and winner of the ARCA season opener at Daytona. Welcome back, Greg Van Alst. Greg, what's up, brother? How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been a really good week or so.
I bet, man. Are you still on Cloud 9?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Where's the trophy at?
It's sitting over there on my fireplace mantle.
Excellent. I love it. I mean, we talked last year, smaller team, doing a lot of work yourself on the car as an owner. And I mean, to go into the start of the season and to win the opener at Daytona, man. I mean, it was a hell of a last few laps. I mean, in all honesty, the ARCA race may have put on one of the better shows the entire weekend. I mean, walk us through it, man.
Oh, so I'll just kind of pick up the last few laps there. We through the race, I mean, we led a lap under green and I think 4 or 5 under yellow, and that was kind of a bucket list, right? You know, check that off, and now we focus on winning the race. So kept trying to position ourselves in that 3rd place so we could be on the inside of a final restart. I got a little nervous before the last yellow came out. Luckily, it played right in our favor there. Come to green, and I just knew I had to push that 44. Had to get the outside lane behind us, you know, because I'd felt before the yellow came out, I felt like I was trapped, couldn't do anything. So, you know, go green with 3 to go. Just keep pushing. We come to 2 to go. Kind of got him down the backstretch, just kind of tandem drafted with him and shoved him out, and then go through 3 and 4, get a little bit more of a run, and I get back to his rear bumper off of 4, come to the white, trail brake right at the start finish line. That sent him out a little bit, and got another run through 1 and 2, and there's kind of an air bubble. I think one of the commentators at one of the races said it's like a beach ball, and you got that beach ball out in front of your car, and coming off of 2, I didn't break the bubble, pushed him out. When I seen he had kind of launched out off the air off of our nose, I backed up to the 18 and, you know, just stayed right in the tire tracks of the 44 and got to the end of the straightaway. And it was I thought it was going to be too soon. Pulled out, side drafted him a little bit, and the rest is kind of history there.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations on that. That's
Thank you.
What more of a story could you write for something like that? That it's so cool. I love every second of it. And if I saw correctly, this was the first time your wife was at the track with you in 17 years?
Yeah, so I mean, she's been to all the Daytona races. I think she went to Charlotte in 21. In 22, she went to Daytona. I think Daytona and IRP, and that was it. We have 4 kids, and they're always doing stuff. So she hasn't been in the pits with us, in the garage area the entire time we've been in ARCA, and I don't think she's been in the pits or garage with us in 17 years. So this weekend, I don't know. I told her back in December, like, hey, you need to go in the garage. I don't know why. You just need to go in the garage.
So she'll be at Phoenix with you, I imagine, right?
No, actually, one of my daughters has a play, and I'm gonna miss it. And it's actually my middle daughter and my youngest son's birthday weekend, so she's staying back to do that.
Well, you bring the kiddos home another trophy. I think that might make up for it, right?
Well, I think it would, but
right.
To me, or to them, I'm just dad. It's kind of funny. My oldest daughter, I've been doing these Zoom calls and podcasts and all that, and it was a couple of nights ago, and she was like, all this over one win.
Wow. She brushed you off, Greg.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
One of them didn't know I was doing a call and just comes in screaming, right? So, but yeah, I mean, to them, I'm just dad. So they keep me pretty grounded.
I mean, I think the birthday card, it just needs your autograph on it and be like, that should be enough, right? Like,
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Give him a hero card. Here you go. Like,
yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. So you mentioned some contact there late in the race, pushing at the end. It's funny. I'm actually talking to Sean Corr, who finished third in the race in a little bit, which is I'm excited to hear his perspective of those few laps to match up with yours there. That'll be great for the show. But talk about CB Fabricating. They have been with you a long time. How special was that for you to have such a close relationship sponsor with you to get the W and in victory lane with them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's a little bittersweet, right? He's been with us for, I think, since 2018. And, we haven't went to victory lane much, right? And, we decided over the winter that, we would try some things and put some space out there available for sale, right? And we sold the hood, sold the quarter panels, sold 22 different sponsors. And, we go to victory lane and it doesn't have his colors all over it. So a little bit bittersweet, but was, really good that we had a couple, Vern's Concrete and Sam Pierce Chevrolet come on. And like I said, multiple others, but, we forever grateful for CB and CB Fabricating. Made sure he's really humble, and we had to kind of pull him in all the victory lane photos because he kept trying to stand to the side, and it's like, no, man, get in the center, So I was, everything's happening so fast, and when we were doing the photos and stuff, and obviously we're not used to doing it, so everything was new, and I wasn't sure, right? I wasn't sure if we got the photos of CB in there, and I was so glad when they came out and I was able to see him. We had quite a few pictures with him, right there in the middle of us all. So, he's more family than what I'd call quote unquote sponsorship. It all started with the fence company. I did a fence for his son, and his son's like, "Hey, I think you should meet my dad. He's a big race fan." And then, that's where the relationship started.
That's crazy. What a small world, right? To be able to turn that into that. I mean, just have a little mini replica of the trophy made for him, and that'll help, I bet.
Yeah, we're working on that. So.
Greg, last season you guys finished fifth in the standings, very respectable. What'd you guys work on in the off season, and what does this win maybe help do that maybe a 5th or 10th place finish, would have done for you guys as you look ahead into 2023?
Yeah, so we're currently still working on our short track car, right? Getting it ready for Phoenix. That's why I was a few minutes late. I got lost track of time, and doing some geometry stuff a little different than what we ran in the years past. But we really focused on our Daytona car all winter. So I'm not going to lie, we're a little bit behind where we should be. But if we can get through Phoenix, have a good showing, obviously our Talladega car's in pretty good shape. I feel like we got a couple months to get our other stuff together before we start getting into the brunt of the season. But our hopes this year is we had quite a few 6th to 8th place runs, I think we finished 8th 5 or 6 times in a row or something like that. So we're hoping to pick up a couple spots, and hopefully turn those top 8 runs into top 5 runs.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, and I guess, and you tell me from you, I want your opinion specifically, because I know some people, they like it, some don't. You were able to focus, like you said, all winter on the Daytona car, and there are some big breaks early in the ARCA schedule. So did you use that to your advantage of, hey, we've got some time that we can fix and work on, the Phoenix car afterwards, because we've got some time, we don't have to worry about it. So, from your perspective, as somebody that's, owner, driver, doing your other stuff, does that work to your advantage? Do you like those breaks? What's your take there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were kind of looking at the schedule, and I wish we would have got started on the Phoenix car a little sooner, but I think it would have took away from our Daytona car, right? So, there wasn't, I don't think there was there might have been a couple days, but I don't think there was many days of not working on something. We got a new trailer over the off season, so getting cabinets in it, getting it organized, that kind of stuff. So I mean, we were working, and then you throw on the fact that I still have a full-time job. There wasn't very many lazy days, if any at all, through the winter. But yeah, for sure, going to take advantage of the little bit of time between Phoenix and Talladega, and then again between Talladega and Kansas to get hopefully get back ahead.
Awesome, man. I love it. Greg, where can everybody follow you at on social media?
So TikTok's a big one. I've been doing videos there. Facebook on the Van Alst Motorsports page, and then Twitter as well. So trying to put more social media presence out there. I reluctantly do it, but I'm learning that the reason why nobody follows 41-year-old old guys at race is because 41-year-old old guys at race aren't putting anything out there. So,
well, I'm a 40-year-old guy doing podcasting as a hobby, so I will try to help 41-year-old Greg get some followers when I post the show tonight.
Yeah, there we go.
Greg, listen, man, it was great to have you back on, and hopefully this isn't the last time this season we're chatting, and I'll make sure to catch up with you at Michigan if I don't see you beforehand.
Yeah, for sure. We started a new website as well. It's called sponsorteam35.com. Like I've said, CB Fabricating's on board for every race this year. We're trying some things different, trying to fill the gaps financially, right? And trying to take the burden off of my checkbook a little bit.
Sure.
So everybody can go to that page, check it out, see what we got available, and like I said, forever grateful for CB and what he does, but still looking for additional sponsors.
I love it. All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck the rest of the season, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's do a little Lap Traffic social media. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, YouTube, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. If you've made it this far into the show, please leave a review on whatever platform you're listening to. Tell your friends about the show, and giveaway. Got a new giveaway. It's posted tonight. It's an awesome Lap Traffic prize pack, and I think you will enjoy that. So let's get to 7,100 followers. We'll give that bad boy away. And let's see here. What else we got? Some new followers. Brian at Hill 1989 VA from, assuming from VA is what I have in my notes. Sports and big racing fan. JB at JTIV Heisman, and OSU fan out in California. JB was one of the guys that hopped in the Twitter Spaces last week with Aaron and I and gave the show a follow, and we had some fun poking at each other, being Michigan and OSU fans, which was awesome. And David at I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. BATONEIRA 96 does Euro Motorsports coverage, which is awesome. Don't forget, I've got free stickers and free koozies. All you have to do, fill out the contact page on the website, shoot me a DM, whatever. I will send them out to you as long as you are in the continental United States. And yeah, so there's that. Okay, let's keep things rolling, and let's talk to another ARCA guy. Let's talk to Sean Corr. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his first appearance on the show. You'll catch him behind the wheel a couple times a year, and he is the co-owner of Empire Racing Group. Welcome to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Sean Corr. Sean, what's up, man? How are you?
Oh, I literally just got off the machine. We got about 9 inches of snow here in New York, and so I just got off the machine about 15 minutes ago. I mean, it is. It is.
Oh wow! Yes, that is a lot of snow.
Winter wonderland right now. So we're been running that Caterpillar all morning.
Hell yeah,
clearing snow, and me and my biggest fan here. That's Ellie.
Ellie in the back. So. I love it. It's the weather through the Midwest has been crazy. Metro Detroit here. We had a crazy ice storm last Thursday. I mean, people have been without power for, 5-6 days now. And the electric company is throwing a $35 credit to people that's been without power. And you've had to be without it for 96 hours or more. It's almost insulting at that point. Like, that's just brutal.
Oh, that is brutal.
Yes.
Oh, gee. Hopefully they got plenty of wood stoves and stuff going.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So listen, I mean, you're sitting in your truck, you got bibs on, you're running a race team, you get around the track every once in a while as well. I mean, give us the rundown on keeping all that straight.
Well, I mean, we're just a small little team. So, mostly I grew up here in the Northeast. I grew up doing Northeast Dirt, pro stocks. We made the leap from dirt to asphalt in 2008, and we worked our way up to running in the ARCA series, and we've had a lot of really good success there. So I sat on the pole in 2012. The Daytona and Talladega have been especially good to me.
I was going to say, so 25 starts at Daytona, Talladega, 10 top 10s. That's a hell of a percentage. Like, you just come in and you might drop that race and you're like, peace out. I'll be back the next go around.
Yeah, we'd love to be. We ran one full season in ARCA in 2011, finished 9th in points. And we've been trying to work on building up another sponsor base again, but it's just been a little tough. And
sure.
So hopefully this year we're my goal. I know we don't have enough funding to do a full season, but I'd love to do. They have a super speedway series within the ARCA Menards season. There's another season that's just it's Daytona, Talladega, Charlotte, both Kansas races, Michigan, and Pocono. And so it's just, 7 races. And so we're trying to work on enough funding this year just to do those 7 races to be eligible for the Speedway series.
Awesome. That's really cool. That's a cool little, thing within a thing there that, that ARCA has. I know ARCA has done some incredible things over the last couple of years between the East and West series and the driver development. And, I know Charles Kral he's a very good friend of mine in the show, and he is working on getting them fields built back up, which is awesome.
Oh, you can't, 40 cars showing up down there for the ARCA race in Daytona. That is nothing to be ashamed of. That is a good, strong field. It's great to see numbers like that coming back. I think last year we were in the low 30s. This year back up to 40. I mean, they were only going to start 40 cars. 42 were on the entry list. 2 backed out, and then there was 1 car there that just didn't start. So I don't know if they had a mechanical issue, if something major happened. And but I know there were 40 cars there, and awesome.
Walk us through your race, man. I mean, started 39th and worked your way through the field to a 3rd place finish. So what was the race like for you?
It was a little nerve wracking. We had an issue in qualifying with another car that they blew their engine. They blew their oil cooler, which ended up damaging their engine. And of course, it was right in front of us. So I was following them out. I saw the 15 car had white smoke coming out her exhaust. And then when we got up on the banking, it turned to blue. And then all of a sudden my windshield just somebody threw a bucket of oil on the windshield. I was like, oh, this isn't good. And then it was one of those crazy spontaneous series of events to go wrong. The 6th car in front of her, I think he broke a U-joint. So it threw his drive shaft out of the car. So he all of a sudden lost power. So she's blowing her motor, dumping oil. Now I jump out of the throttle on the oil and start skating. and everybody behind me starts doing the same thing. And I just was like, it kind of broke loose once. And I'm like, if I snap this again, I'm nosing in the wall. And I just was like, you know what? It's going to be less damage to let this thing spin. So I just let the car spin. The other guys behind me, they were spinning too. At some point we got tagged by one of the cars behind us in the left rear quarter panel. We tore the nose pretty much dang near off the car on the apron, and just we hit the grass, kind of flipped me up on two wheels for a second, came back down on four, and just kind of looped it through the grass. It's like the second I could get her straight, I slammed it into first and just kept rolling. And when we brought it around, we thought we could continue to go out and qualify if we just quickly worked on it. I'd always assumed there was a 5-minute clock to do something, but I was wrong there. When you pull into the garage area, that's it. Your attempt is done. Yep. So that was
all that you hadn't even run the race yet.
Yeah, we wrecked, and we didn't even have the green flag yet. So we but I can't say enough about the ARCA Menard series. There is no bigger family series, like as far as like all the racers. You get there and everybody, there's nobody gets a cold shoulder. Everybody helps. And we had the damage on our car, and we had Timmy McKitchens from Performance Vehicle Works. He came over with the nose, dropped it on the ground, and we didn't even ask him. He started already helping take the nose off the car. And
that's awesome.
We had Dale Quarterly dropped off some black vinyl because there was a white nose. It was all just primered up. So we wrapped the nose of the car black again. I went over to the Cup garage to get some Barabon, because when we got hit in the quarter and when we hit the banking, it just crushed the side of the car from the banking and the damage on the side. We had to get some Barabon. And while I was over there, the Loves team, one of the guys over there that I know that works for the Michael McDowell's 34 crew, I asked them if they'd have any yellow vinyl left over. Ellie, come on. And they got me a little bit of yellow vinyl, which is pretty close to our school bus yellow.
Sure.
So we were able to make the car look, when we rolled out for the start of the race on Saturday, we looked just as good as when we unloaded. I think the car really looked sharp. So
that's awesome.
And still not knowing what we were going to do as far as, it's a new nose on the car. Is the aero going to be the same? Is something else damaged on the car? We went and we nut and bolt checked everything. We had the car on jack stands. We checked everything, looking for a bent ball joint, the toe, when I came around the angle on the steering wheel, that's normally a dead sign that something's damaged. If the steering wheel's now 45 degrees off or something, it's normally a good sign that something's damaged. And nothing was when I pulled around after straightening it back out. But we didn't know what we were going to have at the start of the green, but after a couple laps, just making sure the car was good, then it was like, all right, hammer down, let's go.
Let's get it. That's awesome. That's cool. I like you said, another third place finish. That's great. And it's funny, you talk about the culture in the ARCA garage, and I remember in August going and doing a quote unquote grid walk, if you will, with Crawl on what was it, Saturday, right? Because they ran Saturday. They ran after the Xfinity race at Michigan, and the ARCA garage at Michigan, it's not even a garage, it's just a roped off spot that's normally a parking lot, on Saturday and Sundays of Xfinity and Cup racing. And that's where everyone's at. It's all open, haulers are just pulled in there, and you can just, like you mentioned the word, just a family of racing, and you totally felt that. We walked around, we were watching guys, going to town, thrashing on these cars and just chatting, hearing stories, about the struggle to get there, or why they wanted to make sure they had their car ready for Michigan. And, the turnout for Michigan was a great race. And I 100% know what you're talking about there, which is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, even the officials just come over and hey, thanks for like just as little as saying, hey, thanks for a trip. You don't know what that means. That's
Sure.
That's cool that they remember you from the year before and stuff. And then even other races you throughout the season, even if you're not racing, you're walking around, hey, Sean, good to see you. It makes a huge difference. It's such a great atmosphere.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about Empire Racing. You guys have been around since 2009. This past Daytona was the 100th race for you guys. That had to be pretty memorable for you guys. So talk, a little bit about the team, the mentality. I know you guys try to do some developmental type stuff. So, talk about that a little bit.
Well, yeah, we still have our development program. We have a late model program that we started in 2013, 2014. And we've done everything from, we've dabbled in camper well trucks for a while. And we just kind of found, we have a really good home with ARCA. So sure. we still do late models. We have a couple new developmental drivers coming in this year. So, and they're going to be looking to eventually get their starts in the ARCA Menard series also.
Cool. I'll break the fourth wall because no one, only you and I can see each other. When I mentioned that was the 100th race in the ARCA series, your face gave it away that you maybe didn't know that was the 100th race for you guys.
Now, is that my 100th start or is that just the team's 100th?
The team 100th start. Yep. And I mean, that's according to Racing Reference, which I live and die by J-Ski and Racing Reference. So that was the team's 100th start for you this 2 weeks ago at Daytona for ARCA anyways.
Well, that's pretty cool fact. I really did not know. I'll tell you that. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you for that information.
Absolutely. So now you got to go break down that quarter panel and hang it in the garage or something like that. So, or go have a die cast made or something like that.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool to have a legit die cast made. That'd be pretty neat. That's my favorite car. That black with the yellow stripe car that I run on the speedways.
Yeah.
That's a throwback to my 2008 Super Dirt Week winning car.
That's very cool.
So it was a Pontiac Grand Prix, the one I ran on dirt, and I always thought it was a good looking car. So when we didn't have a sponsor going into Daytona, we actually did that to the paint job to the car 2 years ago.
Okay.
And then last year we actually did the little memorial throwback for Bob Keselowski.
Yep.
But then we were just like, oh, what do we do with the car? I said, let's put the yellow stripe back on it, put the silver checkers back on the side like the old 08 Pontiac Grand Prix. That was my favorite looking car, and it's like, I just think it was a good looking car. It was I as far as even being on the Chevy SS, I almost said Monte Carlo. That shows how old I've been running. How long I've been running this series.
Right? Yep. Oh, I love it. Well, listen, man. What's the next planned race? Is it going to be Talladega?
It is. We got Talladega coming up in April, so we will be there for sure. We're good sponsorship wise through Talladega, and hopefully we're working on some stuff. We'll hopefully be at Kansas this year, and we'll be at those. If anybody's interested in having their name on the card, definitely give us a shout. It's EmpireRacingGroup.com, and or hit us up on our Facebook page, at Empire Racing, or they give us a call, get all of our contact info, everything. We'd love to be able to promote somebody. So
anybody can reach out to me as well, and I can pass along contact info as well for you. And we'll tag you guys in everything with the show on all your handles and all that kind of stuff. And Sean, it was great to talk to you. If you do make it to Michigan, I will definitely make sure to swing by and say hello to you. And let's I tell you what, let's plan after Talladega having you back on to talk about another top 5 finish at a super speedway. How's that?
All right. I hope you're right.
Yes.
So that's cool. And come on, everybody who's listening, get out there and enjoy an ARCA race this year. You guys,
absolutely,
you want the best racing in the country. Come on out to an ARCA race. Bring a friend. You won't be disappointed. I swear.
Absolutely. I love it. Listen, Sean, thank you so much, man. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Me too. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you, man. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. There you have Sean Corr. Great to have him on. And don't forget, now's normally when the weather segment would be, but we're doing that live on Twitter Spaces with Brian and Aaron rotating weeks. So be on the lookout for a social media post pertaining to the date and time of that for this week. Right now, it is time for catching up with Lap Traffic. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line. You can follow him on Twitter at Mr. Slyjob1996. He made the trip all the way from Connecticut to Auto Club Raceway. Welcome back to the Lap Traffic Podcast. Anthony Lord, what's up, brother? How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me again. It's been a while, but glad to be back.
Yeah, man. It's been a minute. Glad to have you on. I'm only 2 weeks into doing this new segment, and I absolutely love it. And I think this thing is going to be awesome for the fans and something that everybody's going to get into. Getting a point of view perspective of someone that was at the track, whether it was for, just one race that weekend or the whole weekend. So like I said, you all the way from Connecticut out there, that's a hell of a commitment to go do a West Coast trip like that. What made that one part of the bucket list?
Well, I mean, for me personally, my main bucket list item of my life is to go to every NASCAR track. Basically a list of, the NASCAR's ever changing, but I have a list of ones that I've watched my whole life because I've pretty much watched NASCAR since I was born almost. And
Sure.
The tracks that I grew up with are the ones on the list. And Auto Club's been on there for a long time because, it was open in 1997. I was born in 1996, hence the gamer tag.
Yes, sir.
And so I've been watching races there my whole life, and I feel a connection to that track because it's almost as old as I am, and it's always been a fun track to watch. And when I had plans to go there in a couple of years, I was trying to work my way outwards. So I've pretty much hit everything in the Northeast and some in the South already. But when they announced that this was going to be it, that was the main driver. I said, yep, I got to go.
Fair enough. I can get behind that. It's funny. My wife a couple years ago got me this map of the NASCAR tracks with like black and white pictures. And then you put a sticker on for the races that you've been to. And it was out by the bar area in the basement. And I moved it into the podcast room because I want it to stare at me in the face. So it's like, no, I have to go to some of these, pre-COVID. The 2019, I got to, I think 5 races that year. And it's like, and since then it's been dead. Like it's only been Michigan, and it's, I'm using this as encouragement to force me to go get to a couple other races this year. So
there you go. What I do is I set it up every year. So I commit and say, no matter what I'm going to do, I'm going to 2 new tracks every year.
I love it.
So for this year, it was going to be something else, but it was actually Michigan was on the list, and then Auto Club kind of knocked it out because of that. And then
totally.
The other one is I've got plans to go to Charlotte for Memorial Day. I usually do a Father's Day trip with my dad, and he lives near there. So
I love that.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I am Berlin is going to be a new track for me this year, even though it's not on this map. We're going to go do the SRX show at Berlin.
There you go.
And so that's going to be a hell of a weekend. So that's Thursday. So we're going to go to SRX Thursday, drive back Friday morning. And then it's SummerSlam weekend in Metro Detroit. So that's going to be Saturday. And then Sunday back out to the track for the Cup race. So that's
oh heck yeah! I've got tickets to Stafford. So
no kidding.
We'll be seeing the first. That's only an hour from where I live. So I'll be at SRX this year too. That'll be fun.
I love that. Very cool, man. So walk me through, your trip, getting off the plane, where'd you stay? What'd you do? And talk about the facilities, give me the rundown on what you thought of your entire race weekend.
Yeah, sure. So I coming from the East Coast, the easiest way is going through LA. I know a lot of the more local or some of the Midwest fans can get out there through the Ontario airport, but I flew into LA easiest way. It's about an hour drive east from LA to Fontana, major 5-lane highways. Which was pretty neat to see because in the East Coast, we have a lot of big highways, but I've never seen anything like that.
I bet.
Man. Yeah, but yeah, it was a smooth drive in there. And then there's actually a lot of hotels in Ontario and Fontana. I was able to find one. I think it was America's Best Inn over in Fontana, only like 10 minutes from the track.
That's awesome.
That was pretty useful too, because you can imagine it was a sold out show. So getting out of there was crazy. And especially with the double header, getting out of there later at night, it was definitely a benefit to be staying there. Cause I know some people probably stayed farther away, but
speaking of that, from a at home perspective, double headers are great. From the in track perspective, that can make for a really long day.
Oh, you're telling me. And I think the most, crazy part of the whole thing was somebody told me that Southern California was warm. And, and so I'm expecting sunny 75 and sunny, right? But I checked the weather report and it said, it's going to be around 50, 60. Okay, that's fine. So, but just knowing me, I packed some colder clothes. You never know. I'm prepared. We get crazy stuff over here. But it was 32 degrees for the Xfinity race at the beginning.
Oh man!
So not only was it tiring, but oh my goodness, it was cold.
Freezing your ass off. Oh man. Okay, so you found a good hotel that was close proximity, which is great. Talk about the surrounding area, from an amenities perspective.
Yeah, so it was pretty nice. There was a lot of neat places to eat around there. One thing on the bucket list for me specifically was I've always heard for years about this In-N-Out burger.
Yes.
So I had to try that. Had to try some Del Taco, Jack in the Box, all those things that I've been hearing about for years that we can't get. So I was hitting all that up. But yeah, it's pretty. I will say Fontana, from my perspective, was a pretty rural neighborhood once you got near the track. There was a lot of houses, a lot of palm trees. And then once you got in the immediate vicinity, it almost felt like you were in an industrial park.
Okay.
Like the whole track was surrounded by these warehouses, old parts of the steel mill. There were construction vehicles parked at, so it was kind of weird
that's kind of how Chicagoland is. Because Chicagoland is like that, it's cornfield. And then all of a sudden it's all of this, Amazon complex type stuff. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly like that. It was pretty wild. And it almost, I hate to say it, but it almost makes sense why they're tearing it up, because just everything around it is industry.
Yeah. So now talk about the racing for you. Did you enjoy the racing? Obviously I'm imagining you did, because that kind of bumped this up, knowing it was the last time they were going to be running the 2 mile there for you.
Oh yeah. No, the racing was great. I think the biggest thing that I took away was how beautiful the track was. So this was my 9th different track I've been to. And I will say from just a visual perspective, it's the most beautiful track I've ever seen.
That's
just
awesome.
With the mountains in the background. And when we got to the Xfinity portion, the sunset coming off of the Pacific was just beautiful. but the racing, it's as good as it ever was since 1997. I've always loved the racing there. The 4 wide, 5 wide restarts, the crazy racing.
The 5 wide salute was amazing.
The salute, the flyover with the big I don't know the name of it, but one of those huge planes. The Goodyear blimp out there. I mean, they put on a good show, and they always have it. It's not something new.
Sure.
But for the last race, they definitely did a good job with it.
So talk about the track itself. For walking around on. I mean, nobody was walking around doing anything on Saturday, but what they have set up around the concourse area. What did you do Saturday during the rain out? Did you just hunker down in the hotel room? Did you find a cool bar? What'd you do on Saturday?
Well, on Saturday, I was up in the stands because they actually had the cars out on the grid, and they did do a couple pace laps before they pulled them in and called it. But as soon as they pulled the cars back in, I actually hopped into the garage and was checking out the Xfinity haulers, and I actually got to meet Brett Moffitt down there.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was so nice. It was great to meet him. I'm a huge fan of his, and I've been trying to meet him for a while, and I actually missed him. He had like a meet and greet at Richmond, and my phone didn't have service, and I missed it.
Oh.
But I finally caught up to him. They had hopped out of the cars already, and I got to talk to him and walk around, and they had the Cup garage gated off, but I got to see some of the haulers there. I just kind of hung out there for a while, and then kind of hopped back to the hotel. It was actually starting to downpour. So after that, we got out of there. But no, it was definitely a lot to do on Sunday though.
Awesome. Very cool. Did you make the trip yourself?
Yeah, just me. I like I said, this is kind of a personal goal. So, but when I can, I take my dad to a race every year. So whichever one's close in the Virginia area, we'll go as a family. But yeah, most of the other races I've gone by myself. However, being a huge Bowman fan, I have a couple of friends that I've met online through the fan clubs and that.
Sure.
And he actually lives near Fontana.
Okay.
And so I met him for the first time at the track.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which was awesome. Yeah.
Very cool. I find peace going to, I've gone to wrestling events by myself, and I've gone to races by myself, and it's a Zen moment to just kind of decompress. And I fully support anybody that goes to a race, an event that they just passionately love. They don't have to explain nothing to nobody. And can just go where you want, when you want, and just be you.
Just enjoy it the way you want. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I love that, man. I love everything about it. Well, listen, man, thank you for coming on and sharing your race story. If you get to another race this year, hit me up, and we'll get you back on for sure. And thanks.
We'll do that for Charlotte if you want, because I'll be there for the whole Memorial Day weekend. Should be seeing all 3 races, so
perfect.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Let's plan on that for sure. Everybody, go follow Anthony on Twitter at Mr. Slyjob 1996. Great to catch back up with you, man, and hope you enjoy the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right, Lap Traffic. Great to talk to Anthony there and get his perspective on his trip to Fontana. Let's close this thing out with a little Lap Traffic fantasy. Just a reminder, get your picks in by 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Keep the Twitter interaction up using hashtag LTFantasy. And you can email your picks to fantasylaptraffic@gmail.com. Joining me on the line right now, he killed it this past weekend, picking both winners. It is Kolby McClam. What's up, brother? How are you?
Not much. How are you?
I am good, man. Thanks for calling in. I mean, you killed it. I hope you played some of those drivers on DraftKings Sportsbook or something like that, because I mean, you nailed it. 100 points. Nice job there, sir.
Thanks. Yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned that. Kyle Busch won me a little extra change in my pocket last week. So.
Excellent. I tell you what, I'm gonna tell everybody. So, one of the bets, I didn't do anything for the Cup race, and I was torn on doing anything for the Xfinity race. But what I ended up doing was, as I went back and I looked at some of the head-to-heads, and two of the head-to-heads for the Xfinity race were Justin Allgaier or Tyler Reddick at -115, and Austin Hill versus Austin Dillon at -110. And I'm like, both Reddick and Dillon struggled all day in that first race. Now they got to go hop in a car and do it again. I like Allgaier and I like Austin Hill, and I hit on both those bad boys, which was the only two bets I made all weekend, and hit on both of them, and that's a good day, so I'll take it.
Oh yeah, can't be that.
No, I wish my lap traffic fantasy picks do a little better, but I had Martin Truex, who had that tire issue and battled back to get on the lead lap there finally. And Josh Berry did okay, so I got 60 points, good for 60th spot in the standings there. And Kolby, you struggled during Daytona too, so your 100 points, I mean, you needed those 100 points.
Oh yeah, I had to come out at least trying to swing.
Right. What'd you think of the race?
I actually really enjoyed it. The Xfinity was awesome. I feel like it always is the past couple of years.
Yes.
But I feel like Fontana just really went out the way it should have. Hopefully, the short track coming in will do it justice. But it's honestly kind of sad the way it's just kind of going away, because it's like the best.
Nope. I hear you 100%. No doubt about that. All right, man. What do you say? I'm going to hit the standings here, and then we'll get to our picks. All right.
Sounds great.
All right. Here's our top 10. First place, Eric McCullum with 208. Right behind him, 1 point. I mean, it's a battle already for segment one and all of that good stuff. Jeff Clock's in second with 207. Benton Wilson in third, 198. Gina is in fourth with 186. Jonathan Lilly in fifth, 185. Brian LaFell in sixth, 178. J-Dub, who was on the show last week, is in seventh with 177. Eldon in eighth with 176. Brian Hall in ninth, 175. And good old Jumpy Bob, who's normally in the basement with me, is in 10th with 173. Our bonus points, Kolby, you're sitting up top the bonus points, which will help you for the playoffs, which I assume you'll make. You got three of them bad boys. Benton, J-Dub, Jeff Clock, Matt Camper all have two. A bunch of you guys have one, and a bunch of us are still searching for our first bonus point. But that's okay. Maybe some of us will get it this week as we head back out west for our second of our West Coast swing and are headed to Las Vegas. All three manufacturers have tasted victory, winning at least once in the last three trips to Vegas. Ross Chastain is back-to-back top fives. He might be a solid pick this week. This past week's winner, Kyle Busch, had a top five back in the fall. This is also his home track, which he hasn't won at since 2009. Wouldn't it be something for KB to go back-to-back and add another win at his home track? Who will pick up the Trekkers and have Lady Luck on their side in Sin City? We'll find out this weekend. But first, it is time for our picks, all three series. All right, man, who do you got for the truck race?
All right, for the trucks is more of a barometer pick, I would say. I'm going with Chase Purdy.
I like that pick. Solid pick there. I'm going to go with the 19 of Christian Eckes in the truck series this week. Kolby, who do you got for the Xfinity series?
Xfinity, I'm going with Sam Mayer.
I like that pick. He looks to show some consistency. I think he's going to do pretty good in the one car this year. I am going to go with the guy that over half the league took this past weekend in Cole Custer for Las Vegas this weekend. And alrighty, sir, the big dance Sunday. Who are you rolling with?
I'm going with Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin. All right. Fellow Joe Gibber. I am going to go with the one of Ross Chastain this weekend to see what Trackhouse can do at the first intermediate track. Pretty strong last year. We'll see what they got. Kolby, thank you for calling in, sir. Best of luck to you this weekend, and hopefully we're talking to you again this year.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll catch you later, man. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. What a fun show tonight. I had an absolute blast recording this thing. That is going to do it for episode 304 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Twitter @LapTrafficPC. Go retweet the hell out of that giveaway. Let's get to 7,100 followers. Huge thanks to Derrike Cope, Greg Van Alst, Sean Corr, Anthony Lord, Colby McClam. I mean, 5 people, 1 show, 90 minutes. What other NASCAR podcast is going to give that to you? I challenge that. Go get it. Show it to me. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!